Hey there guys, welcome to lesson number 26 of our drawing series, Drawing Techniques for Beginners. We're going to start our furry friend today. We did have a lot of deliberation over on the Facebook group as to whether we were going to go with a furry animal, so this wolf stroke husky type dog, or we were going to do one of the landscapes. Now we will get round to doing one of the landscapes as well. I'm really interested in doing one of those, and I think there'll be some valuable lessons in there. But the overwhelming answers that came through on the group was that we'd like to go with one of these furry friends. So I picked this picture off of Pixabay. I really like the contrast. We've got some blacks in there, and I like the eyes, and I think there's quite a bit of detail and some lessons that we can learn there. So I've gone with the grid method, as I'm pretty sure that you can see. I've suggested in the earlier videos the reasons why I don't love the grid method. It just does leave a lot of rubbing out to do, and if this was a commission for somebody, I don't feel comfortable with all of these lines that are going to be visible. No matter what you do, you're always going to be able to see them. And if you cast your mind back to the last video where we drew the young girl with the blonde hair, there were a lot of the grid lines still on there. But we're going to go with this. I've gone for a 3 centimeter by 3 centimeter grid, and making sure that I've labelled each of them. So I've gone with the alphabet down the side and numbers 1 to 6 across the top. You can print this reference image off. It's on the Facebook group. It's at the top. If you go to reference images, it's there. And I'm just going to start getting this planned out. I'm using my HB pencil just so that you guys can see this. Now I would suggest to you maybe going with a 2H pencil. You don't want your outlines to be too dark. So I think this is probably going to be quite an easy one because we've got some very structured shapes in here. We've got some triangles and some rectangular shapes, so this shouldn't be too difficult. So I'm going to start up in this top corner with this ear, so I can see that that's on A2. So I'm just going to start to roughly mark out where I think that's laying, and it's coming down to B2. Now, again, like I've said, a lot of these methods that I'm teaching you, our end game is to be able to freehand. I want you to be able to freehand. I think it's a skill that we all strive to be able to do, but we have to get there somehow. You go and look at a professional tennis player. So at the moment we've got Wimbledon that's on over here in the UK, and you look at some of those players and they certainly didn't start off by hitting the ball from the back of the court and with full-size tennis rackets, etc. What they would have done is they would have started off with a small racket and a smaller court. Sorry, I'm just concentrating. I'm just looking at where some of these elements are lining up. I've gone too high there. Just be very loose with your strokes here. Don't be too hard on yourself. Don't be pressing down too hard. One of the things that I've noticed here straight away, if I was going to freehand this, is look at the height difference between these two, there and there. So we want to make sure that this ear is sitting lower, significantly lower than this one here. And this occupies quite a lot of B5 here. And we've got a lot of the strands of hair that actually come out beyond that into this section here. So I'm looking now into this D6 section where we've got the sort of the neckline of this dog. I'm not entirely sure if it is a dog or it could be a wolf. I think it probably is a dog. It looks like a Malamute husky type dog. I really like the name that somebody, I can't remember who it was, I'm sure you'll correct me over on the group, but there was somebody that decided to name a young lady that we were drawing. They named her June, and I really liked that. So get your suggestions out for what we're going to call our doggy. I'm not entirely sure if it's male or female. Let's go with I think it looks like a boy. So we drew a girl last time, we're drawing a boy now. So what we're going to call this handsome fella. So I'm just checking out now where this comes to. So the edge of his nose is in this sort of zone here. And it's definitely looking at that crease there. So I'm just plotting out some of these very basic lines and shapes. Now, when we are freehanding, what we're looking for is some structures and some shapes that we can initially plot out. And from there, we then start to build up the overall shape and structure. So I can see I'm slightly out here. This part of the mouth is sitting on E0, I guess it is. It's not quite E1. And it isn't huge. So I can now see, yeah, as this comes into the corner of this box, I can now see that I'm slightly out here because that wasn't sitting right. So I'm just going to take some of that out straight away with the kneaded eraser. Just make it into a small point. I've had loads of fun over on the Facebook group recently. It's been nice getting to know some of you, and I do know that we've started sharing our Instagram names. So, like I've said, if you go onto Instagram and search for Artistic Nick, if you follow me, I'll follow you back. Just drop me a DM and say that you've come through the Facebook group, the tutorial group, and I'll be certain to follow you back. It's nice seeing some of your work, and it's quite amazing. I'm seeing some of our actual work popping up that we've been doing just randomly in my feed, which has been brilliant. I've taped this down. I've not taped my paper down, but I've taped this down just so that you get a slightly better experience when you're looking at some of my videos. I don't want you to, let me just measure here. So we're in H2. I'm just looking at where this fur line sits and how up it's coming into these boxes. So I'm quite happy with that. Where do we come out to? So I'm looking for where this white edge, it's E4. So let's have a look at E4. So I know that we are filling most of this, and we're cutting that edge off there. So we've got a sort of half rectangular shape here. And just be very free flowing at this stage. Don't be too precise. And we are drawing fur. That's the main aim. So let's get this eye placement now. So the pupil sitting in D3. It's sitting right in there. In this sort of region there. We've got part of the eye protruding out into D2. Yep. So I can see I've gone too far over with the pupil. And we've got this sort of tear shape. So I'm going to take that pupil out now because it's not quite sitting close enough to the line that separates D2 and D3 out. It's just noticing these little things that over the course of your entire drawing, noticing these little things is the difference between it looking correct and looking slightly off. Let's see how he's looking here. I've got some details that I want to get in here. So I'm looking for these darker areas. I'm just blocking these darker areas off. So we have got one in B4. We've got, there we go, looking okay there. And that's coming So I've gone slightly too far across with this. And the more information you get down on your paper, the more lines you start to get down, the more reference points you have. So I can then line other things up. Initially, I'm just using the grid to get some very basic shapes down, and then I'm building up as I lay something else down. I then have another reference point, so I can see that this white tuft of hair comes up into C2. So I'm looking at C2, and I know that I've got an area of white fur that does sit in that zone. It doesn't quite come up into B, and we've got this lovely shaped eyebrow, this white hair in this area. Just trying to see what this is here. I don't know if that's his other eye. It doesn't look right. I don't know. I'm going to have a look at that later on my iPad. I'm going to zoom in and see exactly what that is. I'm guessing it is the eye, but it doesn't look like it's sitting. Yeah, it possibly is. Possibly is. We're going to put it in anyway. It's on the reference image, so we're going to pop that in. Let's spend a little bit more time on this nose now. So I can see here, you probably can't see this on the camera, but this right hand nostril as we're looking at it is sitting in E. We've just got a hint of it there. And then we're looking at that crease that we have. And then the other nostril over on this left side as we're looking at him. And then I'm slightly too square now on that edge of the nostril. But yeah, it's been really fab getting to know some of you over on the Facebook group. If you haven't found us already, subscribe to the channel first and hit the notifications icon, and then from there you will be notified every time I do drop a new video. I'm tending to drop one now on a Saturday and a Tuesday. We went with Tutorial Tuesdays because it had a bit of alliteration in there, but I like to get through these videos a little bit quicker now, and some of you I know are sort of right bang up to date with where we are with things. So I do try and drop 2 a week. So this video that I'm recording now, you'll be watching this hopefully on Saturday. In a couple of days' time, it's Thursday evening here in the UK at the moment. I'm sat down with my pencils after a long day's work, and yeah, I was really quite excited to get on with this one. I can remember the first time I did any animal, I think it was a cat, was one of the first studies that I did of fur. I was really happy with it. I'll have to try and find it. If you go through my Instagram, they're all there from a few years ago. There's a couple of cats that I've done. I think one of them had coloured eyes. And I learnt so much from it. Okay, so we've got some details in here now. So I'm looking in E3. So E3, I can see that we've got a general idea of a shape that's coming in. It does come up into D3. And then we've got this dark area around the eye. That tucks in nicely around. There it's slightly fanned out at the edge. I'm holding the pencil exactly the same way as I do with the tapered strokes when we're filling in for value. Now I've got to get this pupil in the correct place, otherwise this dog's going to look boz-eyed. I can see it already that if I'm not spot on with the placement, it's going to give the dog's eyes a crookedy look. So I can definitely see that my pupil's too big there. It's bigger than my reference. So again, because I'm not pressing on too hard, even though I filled that in there, I can knock it back with the kneaded eraser and just rework the area slightly. Okay, happier with that. And again, this does not need to be perfect. We're going to be making adjustments as we go along, so we're just getting this basic structure down. So what I was saying was, go and find us on the Facebook group, check us out. We're quite a friendly group. We've had lots of new people. We're well over 2,000 members of the group, and it's growing really fast. And I guess we've got some fantastic artists on there that will be able to draw equally as well as anything I can do. But it's just nice to have a bit of a community where people are encouraging and dipping in and out of the tutorials. I had a few people that come on and keep asking, where we find the tutorials and things like that. They're all on the announcements section. So if you go to the top of the Facebook group and go into the announcements, everything's there. Otherwise, go and check out the YouTube channel itself. All of the videos are on there. You can go to the videos and there's a section called playlists, Tutorial Tuesdays playlists. So check that out. Make sure you ask some questions and share your work with us. We're not one of those art groups where people are insulting towards one another and making mockeries of people's artwork. We're certainly not about that at all. It's something that I've stipulated right from the start, because we were all beginners once. I mean, I've shared a few of my early drawings. I've got no problem with people seeing some of my work, because I think it's encouraging. You feel a little bit lost initially. It's quite daunting, and the last thing that people want is for people to be laughing at their work, because it's demotivating. I guess I'm a fairly strong character, and it maybe wouldn't have put me off too much initially, but I certainly wouldn't have liked. I look back now, and my art wasn't brilliant. Of course it wasn't, because I was a beginner. But the comments that I was receiving were all encouragement, and that made a huge difference to me continuing. And although once I decided that drawing was something that I was going to try and learn and master, it certainly was nice having encouragement and constructive criticism. I'm all for that. But in a way that people can learn, and that's very important to me. So I'm very grateful and thankful to say that actually our group does tend to be a friendly, very giving group. There's a lot of people on there that are spending a lot of time and effort in answering people's questions. I obviously try and get through to as many questions and comments that I can, but it's now starting to take the form of people giving advice, and that's exactly what we want. That's how we all learn. I'm still learning as well. So actually, I think I'm not too unhappy with how this is looking at present. We've got a lot of the basics in there. We've got the ear placements. The nose placement looks good to me. Need to figure out what this is in here. I am guessing it's that eye. It just doesn't look like that's going to be an eye to me. It looks almost like the eye should be tucked in more. Maybe it's just the angle. And as we start to add a little bit more value, we may find that it does even itself out. We've got this. See, I've come down too far into E2. It doesn't do that. It kind of kicks in. It's almost like we've got this eye socket here, and this is kicking into there. I do know that there's a lot of artists that, you know, really recommend you going and doing lessons and classes on anatomy and knowing how the bone structures of creatures and humans work, and I just don't think that's necessary unless you're trying to draw something from memory and you know you need to get the placement of things correct. You know, I don't need to know whether this is an eye socket and whether this is protruding. I can see it, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to copy what's here. So I can see that we've got a circular-ish type cavity. I'm just going to copy that. I don't need to. So what have I got here? So that's coming under there. So then that's not as dark. Under here, I'm just talking to myself. That's the process I'm going through. So I'm going to leave you with that. I want you to go ahead and try and finish off the rest of our initial sketch. Go with the 2H pencil if you can, especially with the grid lines. I mean, if I was doing this as a commission for somebody, I would do these in a 4H. I need to see them, you know, nobody else needs to see them. But obviously with the purposes of the video, I've tried to make it so that you can see these as best as you can and as clearly as you can. So I'd probably go with a 4H with these, and that would make it slightly easier to rub out in the end. But go with what you can. Let's get some of these basic structures laid down, and I'll see you at the start of the next video where we are going to start working in the dark area. So we're going to begin with the eye, bring some of the nose darkness out, and then we're going to start moving into the fur and having a look at how we do this fur. Now, one of the other reasons why I chose this is there's an awful lot of white areas that we don't need to do a lot of drawing in. We're going to get a lot of the graphite from these areas that we can use in exactly the same way that we did with our girl with the blonde hair. So this won't take us, you know, we could probably get this done in 3 or 4 lessons, I'm guessing. But like I say, we're not going to rush. So get that done. Join us on the Facebook group if you've not already done so. Hit the like button. I really appreciate all the like, subscriptions and shares, and you know the comments that you're giving me. All of it helps promote my channel and the group, and just get more people to watch and learn and join in with us. So that's all fantastic. And I'll see you guys in the next video, which is going to be number 27. I can't believe we're there already. Thanks so much for everything so far, guys, and I'll see you next time. Hit subscribe, smack the notifications button, follow me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter.